Hello and welcome to the show. For today's Hot Wheels Showdown, we have got something interesting. The Ford Woody is going to have a try around this circuit. Now, this proved to be a very quick car when it came to the rally builds. However, the circuit that we were racing around there was very demanding in terms of, well, outright power, and the cars were all converted to all-wheel drive, which means that the Woody, did do very well indeed. However, as a standard driveline, which it will be rear-wheel drive, at a circuit that's a lot more demanding on handling, I'm not expecting to see the Woody go horrendously fast. As entertaining as it would be to do the Hot Wheels Showdown with a surfboard on the roof, we do actually need the downforce. We're going to chuck some weight off while we're here. Engine-wise, of course, we are going to have to swap the engine out. The standard engine is not going to be anywhere near good enough to get us to the top of S1 class. Only 245s at the front. In fact, only 245s all around. I thought the Woody had bigger tyres. Apparently not. Oh, bugger. It's not good, because our engine options are a 8.4-litre V10 or the 5.8-litre supercharged V8. It's actually the Shelby GT500 engine. They're the choices. There's going to be a lot of power. There's going to be a lot of power indeed in those. I will, though, before we do that, go and grab handling bits and pieces that we want. I can't actually remember how much horsepower the supercharged V8 gets. I know it's over 1,000. I don't know if it's as much as the V10. Potentially, gearbox is something we are going to desperately need if we're going to chuck in one of these high-end engines. I'm going to try building the V8 because the V10 is a more common engine swap, so we'll go for something a little bit on the rarer side. We can swap it to turbos if we want. I mean, it does kind of defeat the slight object of the supercharger, but you might be able to get more back. We'll see. We'll go to the other upgrades first, and if we are somehow lacking of power, we will go and swap it to be twin-turboed. I would think it unlikely to be lacking of power, although that being said, of course, vehicle being rear-wheel drive will give us more PI to play with than an all-wheel drive version, and that's it's going to have, I think, pretty much a maxed out engine, regardless of whether we go super or turbocharger on this one. 928 horsepower. It's not quite going to be as much as I would have quite liked. I think we might have to go for the V10 in the end in terms of power. Let's go give it turbos, and then let's go upgrade the turbos. See what that does to the horsepower. God's sake, I pressed the button. This menu is a lot quicker than previous games, but I'm still trying to act quicker than the menus are able to give us. So with that, it's 1,033 horsepower as opposed to about 1,100 horsepower I think you get from the V10. To be honest, while there might be potential to get more power out of the V10, I am going to go with the V8. We'll use a different engine, and maybe the less power is not a bad idea when you have 245s at the back. Probably a fairly solid idea, quite frankly. We have got full weight reduction. Actually, a little heavier. I say it's a little heavier than I expect it to be, 3,100 pounds. Sometimes these classic cars are surprisingly light. And I thought this might end up being one of those that's a lot lighter than you expect. That is not the case. I think we're pretty much done. We will need a diff, otherwise we'll have a one-tyre fire the entire way around. We'll grab a driveline while we are here. Gearbox, we might as well go for the full gearbox. We've got more than enough PI to play around with. Likewise, we'll stick the clutch on as well. We're ready to go. I say we're ready. The car is ready to go. Not 100% sure I am. Hopefully we'll get a lap. Maybe where we don't fall off the track and crash horribly. So we have brought the bonkers Woody to the skyscraper takeoff circuit, where I'm going to have 5 laps to try and not die. The fastest time is in the 32s, and we can pretty much ignore going quicker than the Commodore. The interesting area for this is going to be, well, around the twin mill, I suspect. We can go quicker than the twin mill, we'll probably be doing relatively well. Things like perhaps the Puma-mobile or maybe even the Jeep, a 55.8 from the Jeep Cherokee. We'll have the power-to-weight ratio, we'll have the acceleration. The handling, that's what is going to cause us issues. We don't have all-wheel drive to fall back on in this. We don't have even big tyres. I thought this got like 285s at the rear, and I thought we might be vaguely okay with that, but we don't. So it's going to want to spin its wheels constantly. I've gone from driving it Elise to driving this death machine. It's not going to end well. I say it's not going to end well, it's just not going to be... I just don't think it's going to be particularly fast. You spend far too long having to try and worry about the handling on this, fighting it around corners. And while, yeah, you know, it's got good acceleration once you can get out of the turns. Ooh, we're going to go for a ping off of the wall there. The back end is going to do weird things. The back end is going to do very, very weird things. Now, how fast will it accelerate if we could ever get it around this corner? 180 miles an hour is about the quickest sort of cars we have seen. Are we going to have... Yeah, we're not going to have. Admittedly, it wasn't the best of runs around that corner. But I think this is going to struggle for lap time because power-to-weight ratio isn't so ludicrous as to give you insane levels of acceleration. It's good. Oh god, it is good, but it's not going to have quite the incredible levels of some of the cars we've seen, like the FailRace, for example, that was 2,000 pounds and had 700-800 horsepower. That power-to-weight ratio is about to go really badly wrong. We're going to gather it all back up again, but we're going to fall off for the hill. We're a little bit stuck here. Woody, things are about to go really badly wrong for you. Are we going to try and crab our way around a loop? That's not going to work. We're going to have to reset our car. I don't even know where it's going to reset us. There we go, right. I didn't get in the right gear coming up towards the loop, and then we had a really awkward bounce on the landing. Yeah. I digress. Power-to-weight ratio isn't particularly great. While we do have a decent amount of power that will hopefully propel us around the loop, it's still not going to be the best. And then we've got real handling concerns around these corners. There's just no ability to put power down in this car in any way, shape or form. It can have 1,000 horsepower, but we can't use most of it coming out of these corners. Although that's better. That time around just got to be very patient with the car. Front end doesn't really get turned in very well. The back likes to slide about. See how far down we are. The Elise was right on the essentially ghost flag movement there. The Elise was right there with that. You see how far back this vehicle is. Yeah, it's not so great through the turns, and then on the acceleration, it's not good enough to make it up. I think this is going to really struggle. I mean, it is down on PI. Not much I can do about that one. We have seen cars being down on PI and still be very competitive, because of course the PI is trying to take into consideration overall performance, and there are some aspects of overall performance that might not be relevant to this. For example, launch. Launch is completely irrelevant because once we've got off of the start line, initially we're doing flying laps here, so it doesn't matter about the launch. We saw in the Hill Climb Monster series things like the Ford Raptor. That was a long way down in terms of PI, but that's because it lacks top-end speed, which was irrelevant at that particular circuit. Now around here, top-end speed is a little bit more significant, but oh god, that's really awkward. It gets thrown about so much. The actual top-end speed is a bit more important around this particular circuit, but a lot of it is assisted by sort of like the aero limiting that some vehicles face is not so much of a thing because, well, we're being assisted by gravity and boost pads, etc. So, yeah, PI is an interesting thing to have to try and deal with around this particular circuit. 38.6 for its first flying lap. Not great. No, not great from the Woody. Come on, get that front end turned in, and then we're going to slide through the exit. So about 120 miles an hour through that turn with the Lotus. Not 120 miles an hour in this. Neither is it even vaguely close to being flat out through turn 4. I mean, you can try. You'll bounce off the wall and be very sideways. But it's not going to be flat out there. Head through the this next turn. We've seen 104. Oh, God, I thought I could get away with that. We've seen 140 miles an hour. At that time, 143 was the fastest done by the Elise. And we're 122 and we're running out of grip. So you can see the struggles we have. The bigger struggles with this is it's not got... Oh, come on, get around that turn. Well, we've pinged off some walls and then we've spun the wheels up. It's not got the acceleration. It's only 100. It's no faster than the Elise down into the crossover section. It's troubling. that is troubling news for the Woody as we slither and slide our way out of that particular corner. Get it up into a fifth gear here. Are we going to get a good launch off of the boost pad? We do, but it's just so unstable there. Oh, no, don't slide. Bad things are happening. Again, we have survived that scare for now. It's really bobbly on the landing, which is not a trait you want a car to have at this circuit. We've seen a few. The Bentley Continental, one of the cars that springs to mind for bobbling around on the landing. Might we have a new competitor for last place on the leaderboard? Maybe the 36s were ambitious. I think there is lap time in this car, although a 36 might be difficult. We'll wait and see. I'm still struggling to put any power down out of turn 3. Turn 4 we go. Not too bad, but again, I just can't use any of the power. And this thing has got massively long gear ratios. That can sometimes help these cars out with having slightly less aggressive kind of power delivery. But it's just not helping the car enough. We've still got far too much oversteer, far too much wheel spin, and not enough acceleration. 165 miles an hour. The brakes aren't terrible, which is nice. I mean, that would be another thing to add kind of insult to injury, really, if we had awful brakes. It is getting slowed down. Okay, they're not outstanding, but they're not the worst sort of brakes we've had to deal with. Oh, turning a little bit too soon through there, but we are neater at least so far. So far on this lap, things are going better. Now, please don't bounce, bobble, twist on the landing. That's more like it, Woody. Up to 204 miles an hour off of that second boost pad. Loses some of it around the loop. It's not the worst, though, that we have seen. And we're going to have a 211 mile an hour run. Oh, almost. Just pinged off the wall, trying to get it slowed down there. It's still not very quick. A 38.5 on that lap. We did run a little wide into the final corner, but it's not a second and a half worth of running wide there. Try our best to get it through this turn 3. I mean, that might have been a little bit better of a run through there. I can't carry any speed up over the crest because the back end's going to want to wander around at that section. Can we be at least flat here? Almost made it. Almost made it. Now I've got to get the car back under control before we slither our way into that wall. That was with a couple of millimeters to spare. I mean, this very reminiscent of the very first car that I drove around here, the Ford Deluxe 5-window, that the Hot Wheels barn find car. Very reminiscent in many ways of the way that thing drove. And that was the only other vehicle in a 38, and this might have to... It's going to sit down towards the bottom of the table. It's just whether it beats the Ford or whether it can sneak past anything else at that area. This lap is going better. It's going better for us, I think. Let's just... Please don't die here. Please don't bobble. I'm trying to just drive it as straight as I can. It's a poor run off of that boost pad, but the more important thing in many ways is just get the car down on the other side. Just get it landed. Yeah, it's a shame we didn't quite get the boost that we were looking for off of that pad. Still 208 miles an hour down into this final corner. Look at the understeer is just chronic. It's across the line. We're into the 37s, but... Oh, that's not a nice car. It is not a nice car at all to drive around here. I was expecting bigger rear tyres, and I was expecting more acceleration. And it doesn't accelerate any quicker, really, than the Lotus. It gets a little bit higher top speed than the Elise, but if you're going to have this lack of grip, this lack of, well, handling full stop, you need to make up for it in another way, and that way is with blinding speed. And the Woody can't. The Woody just simply can't make up for its deficiencies through the corners with blinding speed. And yeah, it's not very quick. Not very quick around this track. A 37.9 will put the car... It's not quite last. It does beat the Ford Deluxe. It does beat the Ford Deluxe. It's in 39th place. It loses out to the Ferrari 166. It's over half a second down on the 166. The Ferrari was about as much power as this and 1,600 power. The Ferrari was the fastest car we'll probably ever see in terms of straight line speed around this circuit, but woefully undrivable through the corner. This is more drivable than the Ferrari, but of course doesn't have that absurd acceleration and absurd top speed. We're a long way down on things like the twin mill, for example, the Challenger Hellcat. The Jeep is some 2 seconds faster, 2 seconds further down the road than this car. It's very, very, very difficult to drive. A challenge most definitely. A little bit of shame doesn't quite have that ultimate speed to make it well, really balmy in many ways. It's just not that fast accelerating and slow through the corners. That, though, is going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.